Good morning, everybody. This is one of the many days that I feel very privileged to represent the host country of the United Nations, so as to have the chance to address you on such an important occasion. On behalf of the United States, I wish to convey our deepest and most heartfelt condolences to Her Majesty Queen Sirikit, her children and grandchildren, and to the people of Thailand on the passing of His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej. His Majesty was not only a lifelong friend and partner to the United States, but he also had deep personal ties to our nation. The King's parents met in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where both were studying medicine, his father at Harvard and his mother at Simmons College. His Majesty only lived there as an infant, but his presence is still very much felt in Cambridge. I can speak with a bit of authority on this subject because before I had the privilege of serving in the Obama administration, I was a professor in Cambridge at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and my walk to and from campus often took me through King Bhumibol Square, which sits adjacent to the Kennedy School and was named in honor of his birth. Walking through King Bhumibol Square, it is not uncommon to see Thai people who had come to pay homage to His Majesty, taking photographs next to the plaque bearing his name in the square. There are several places like that in Cambridge. In the nearby Brigham and Women's Hospital, where His Majesty's mother once worked, hardly a day goes by when Thai visitors do not come bearing gifts, flowers, or small handwritten notes. That is the kind of devotion His Majesty inspired in the Thai people. Nearly 2 decades ago, a journalist asked the King how he wanted to be remembered. He replied that he cared very little about how history remembered him. He said, quote, "If they want to write about me in a good way, they should write how I do things that are useful," end quote. In the eyes of His Majesty, doing things that were useful meant finding a way to solve problems that affected real people, most importantly, the vulnerable and marginalized people. And as the King saw it, the only way to know what was useful and to understand the problems that people were facing was to get out into the field, into the places where people lived. So the King traveled constantly within his country, in particular to the poor and rural parts, where over the course of his tenure he would develop thousands of development projects. But it wasn't just that His Majesty went to these places. We see leaders do that a fair amount. It was also how he went. He made a point of meeting directly with locals, be they fishermen, rubber or rice farmers, or primary school students. When he met with officials, he would choose those working at the very grassroots, agronomists, school teachers, policemen. And His Majesty was more than just a keen observer. Being useful meant helping fix the problems that he encountered and empowering the Thai people to do the same. He had a mind that was at once kinetic and deliberate, creative, as we've heard, and scientific. Over the course of his life, he registered nearly 40 patents and trademarks, often for inventions that he built, tested, and modified himself, and most of which aimed at tackling everyday problems faced by the poor. This is completely extraordinary. Take the invention nicknamed the monkey's cheeks, which he designed to address the perennial floods that Thailand experiences. His Majesty remembered seeing as a child the way that monkeys would store chewed bananas in their cheeks so that they could eat them late, and built a system of small reservoirs that worked using a similar principle, storing excess water during heavy rains that could be used later for irrigation. The system of the monkey's cheeks is still being used across Thailand today. Many of the King's inventions fit this pattern, merging conservation with human development. He was decades ahead of the curve in recognizing that what was environmentally sustainable was crucial to the long-term health of communities. Let me conclude. In June 1960, His Majesty returned to the United States at the invitation of then-President Dwight Eisenhower. He was asked to address a joint session of the U.S. Congress. He was just 32 years old. Speaking to Congress, His Majesty said that he had accepted the invitation in part because of what he called the natural human desire to see my birthplace, Cambridge, which he returned to on that trip. But he also came, he said, to affirm our two nations' unique friendship and shared values. As he put it, friendship of one government for another is an important thing, but it is friendship of one people for another that assuredly guarantees peace and progress. His Majesty told members of the U.S. Congress that there was one tradition valued above all others for the Thai people, the commitment to family. He said, quote, "The members of a family are expected to help one another whenever there is a need for assistance. The giving of aid is a merit in itself. The giver does not expect to hear others sing his praises every day, nor does he expect any return. The receiver is nevertheless grateful. He too, in his turn, will carry out his obligations," end quote. Now, the king was speaking about the bonds and generosity among members of Thai families. But in retrospect, his words can just as easily be applied to the way that he lived his life, a life of always looking for ways to be useful to those in need, a life of giving and of serving every single day. Not to earn praise, not to get something in return, but rather because that is what one does for family. And His Majesty considered all the people of Thailand to be his family. How fortunate the Thai people were to have had His Majesty as a member of their family. And how fortunate we are to be able to learn from the way that this remarkable king chose to live his life. Thank you.
In Bangkok, the capital city, on a day of celebration, King Bhumibol makes his way to Thailand's central Buddhist shrine, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha. The study in his palace looks and sounds like a command post. Here he talks to David Lomax about his job as king.
How do you see your duty as a king? Why do you think that Thailand should continue to have a king?
It's not for me to say. I do things that I think is useful, and that's all.
But are you conscious, as King of Thailand yourself, of being able to do something which you feel wouldn't be possible without a monarchy here?
Well, I don't know what can be defined as king. That is the big trouble. Because in my position is called, I am called a king. But my duties, if you have noticed, is not the duty of a king. It's something that is quite different or difficult to define. I do things I think that will be useful, and that is all. If you ask me what I had in mind, what the plan I had no plan. Just like I'm today, we are going to have something and we are going to do it. We don't know what the something is, but we are going to do something that is good. That is the plan or the spirit. Anywhere we go, we are looked at, and people are interested in us. They look at us, they don't want to bother us. They want to know more how they eat, how they sit, how they walk. They don't look with curiosity or hostility.
Kings and queens of Thailand have always been in close contact with the people, really, and they usually regard the kings as father of nation. That's why usually we don't have much private life, because we are considered father and mother of the nation. So naturally we are all the time with the people.
To the king, Thailand's danger means that state ceremonial is no empty form. Speeches at the royal audience for his birthday, no mere platitudes, but expression of the struggle for survival.
ข้าพระพุทธเจ้าทั้งหลายทราบแก่ใจอยู่โดยตระหนักชัดว่าการที่ประชาราษฎรไทยตลอด
Having praised the king's compassion and impartiality, the Crown Prince calls upon him blessings from Buddha and from the country's protective gods and spirits.
Kingship, if we have to use this word, has changed all the time since the old times, and then since the advent of founding of Bangkok, our capital. It has always changed. My great-grandfather was the philosopher king. He was the king that you know under the name of King Mongkut.
The most sacred image of Thailand, the center of the Grand Palace, the Emerald Buddha. The image is actually made of jade and is about 2,000 years old. It was installed here by Rama I, founder of the Chakri dynasty. This ceremony on the coronation anniversary shows more than any other how the king has made ancient court procedure relate to the pressing current needs of the country. The oath of allegiance to the land, taken in the presence of the Buddha. The men gathered here to take the oath are soldiers. Earlier in the day, they were decorated for bravery against the communist insurgents. Ancient rite is practiced by those at risk from modern danger. This ceremony shows more clearly how the king is indeed the soul of his nation, the center round which army, government, and religion cohere. The participants in the ceremony remind us of the danger that threatens this nation. The king's convoy in action. It leaves more or less every day when he's in the regions and covers about 30,000 miles a year. The purpose of these tours is always twofold. On the one hand is the improvement in the people's welfare and the development which the king achieves, and this is certainly significant. On the other hand, there is his presence as king among the villagers. Before his visit, they may feel themselves neglected. In his presence, and after he has gone, they know that they are not. The ladies-in-waiting act as social workers, taking extensive notes on every case so that each one can be followed up afterwards. This means typing up every night, and a lot of work when the court has returned to Bangkok. No previous king had ever even visited the northeast. King Bhumibol spent the first 10 years of his reign traveling very thoroughly through every district of the country so that he could see the problems in detail at first hand. This detailed knowledge now forms a base for rapidly expanding work in all kinds of development. Always the encouragement, listening to their problems, helping them to help themselves.
Did they have any particular problem they wanted you to?
No problem. They were very happy. And I asked in what temple they were going, and they said the name, and I looked in the map. And there's a old temple here, and they did not remember the name.
They seem to be very impressed with your geographical knowledge.
Oh, because they are very happy when somebody comes and knows about their village.
But you go everywhere with this map, I notice. It never, not this particular one, but
Yes,
there
yes,
is never a map from your hand.
I try to have a map so that I know where I'm going, and they are happy when they know that
the official map is the village is on their map.
Are there some occasions when people live in villages that aren't marked on your map or that have the wrong name?
Well, that is what happened now.
What is what happened?
There's a village that has no name, and I put a name on it.
The King and Queen received representatives of friendly countries, both formally and informally, turning state functions into personal affairs whenever possible.
I saw that blue, lovely blue.
A natural part of the royal family's job is to promote the country's crafts, culture, and special products, even at parties. The Queen is very much concerned to increase silk production throughout the country. And she makes a point of wearing Thai fabrics herself. This is one of the King's new dams. Irrigation is probably the aspect of development to which he contributes most. Apart from his boat with the rudderless engine, the King has designed dams and irrigation channels himself. With his quick grasp of the subject, he always makes his experts work hard. And though he seems able to master almost anything he puts his hand to, it is probably the many facets of engineering for which he has the most talent. The King carries a two-way radio with him at all times. He is said even to sleep with it. This means that he's the first to hear of any crisis. But he seems oblivious to everything as he concentrates on the job in hand. An army camp. These soldiers have been waiting all day for the King's arrival. That is often the case, but the Thais do not mind waiting. It is still such an honor to see the King.
Could you tell us why you think it's so important to come and inspect a military position like this, please?
They have an important task to do is to keep the area safe, their territory safe, and in fact to help the people, because the people in this area is very, very poor, so poor. This is the place where it is called so-called liberated area, one of the liberated area. It isn't red anymore, but still the fact is the people are very poor still. So the soldier here helps to give them advice on how to grow their crops and how to look after their children. They are loved everywhere, the soldiers, I mean, because they don't fight with arms only, because they have been looking after the welfare of the people most. In fact, they have won the heart of the people. I think that is the right way to fight the insurgents.
After the day's visible work and activities are over, the King can spend 4, 5, or even 6 hours alone in his study at night, surrounded by teleprinters, radio sets tuned into police or army frequencies, and other communication devices. He debriefs himself on the day and plans tomorrow's trip.
Could you explain what you're doing with his maps, please?
If I see something, you see circles there, places that can be developed, and you can see a place there with a red thing there. It's a kind of for damming and for making a small reservoir. And then when there are the engineers, the irrigation engineer, I can ask them if it is practical to do that. And sometimes they go and inspect the place and can have a survey on the spot.
Why do you have all these radio sets everywhere, all these receivers, transmitters, telexes? What are they all for?
Well, communication. I think that you should know that radio is for communication. I don't have television here.
Now, I've heard people say that this is your personal intelligence network.
I wouldn't say intelligence. but sometimes it is very useful. Sometimes when you know about the news of some disaster hitting somewhere, you can help them very quickly, and that speed is the most important factor. So that I get the news by the telex or by the radio. Most of the what you hear here doesn't concern me. It's sometimes there is a murder somewhere. Sometimes I can have some news of they have caught a caravan of heroin or something like that. It is better than to listen to the broadcast or other things.
When you sit here by yourself for several hours every evening, looking at your maps and listening to the radios, is that because you are a lonely man or because you need to have some time by yourself after all the public side of your life outside?
That is a question that can be answered in many ways. I'm not lonely, and I have work to do, so I have to do the work. The way of doing work is to have some concentration, that is some peace, and then one can think more clearly. It is a way of preparing myself to be able to do whatever circumstances will have me to do. I gather information by listening. I gather information by looking at the maps or at reading or thinking. And then when time comes, I have the material in my head.
Standing under the portraits of her predecessors, whom protocol did not allow to work as she does, Her Majesty was presented with the Ceres Medal of the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations.
My husband and I are not content with only visiting or doing the conventional things. We must try to do something better than that. We must try to help the government to promote the welfare of the people, because we are underdeveloped country. So the task of mere visiting the people as a conventional duty of head of state is nonsense. If we cannot participate in helping alleviate the misery of the people, then we consider it a failure to be a head of state.
The royal family use helicopters to visit the more isolated parts of Thailand. Frequently on such visits, they perform life-saving service by removing sick people to hospital, or in the case of a border raid such as this, lifting out the dead and wounded. The king's work among the peasants takes him closer and closer to sharp personal danger. One of the king's many hobbies is firearms, and amongst other things, he has designed a gun mounting for helicopters. Is the time coming when he will have to put this knowledge to practical use? More or less every male Thai, kings included, becomes a monk for a short time in early manhood. A standard length of stay is 3 months during the rainy season between June and October, which is a kind of Buddhist Lent. On his entrance into the order, the king spoke to the nation and said, "From the training which I have received, as well as out of my own personal belief, it is my view that Buddhism, which is our national religion, is one of the great religions of the world. Buddhism teaches men to achieve good conduct and is rich in veritable precepts which are logical, highly impressive and inspiring. When a king is a monk, he is not obliged to beg his food from commoners. But King Bhumibol waived this rule and went out into the streets just like any other monk.
Usually my husband would come in earlier than I would and meditate, really meditate, because he could control his breathing and he could really concentrate. But I cannot concentrate and meditate yet. I'm learning. I only pray. But my husband said it's all right. That is the same thing as loving kindness is the real thing one should give to other person. To give, not to take only, to give, to love. So that's the reason my husband and I can work year after year, day after day, without being ill. But we know that when it's time to die, nobody can escape.
Before we proceed to the item on our agenda, it is my sad duty to pay tribute to the memory of the late King of Thailand, His Majesty Bhumibol Adulyadej, who passed away on Thursday, 13th of October, 2016. On behalf of the General Assembly, I'd like to request the representative of Thailand to convey our condolences to the government and people of Thailand and to the bereaved family of His Majesty the King. His late Majesty the King reigned for 70 years, making him one of the longest-serving monarchs in human history. He was revered by his people and admired throughout the world for his grace, dignity, and humility, and steadfast dedication to his country and people. At his coronation, he declared, "We shall reign with righteousness for the benefits and happiness of the Siamese people." It was a commitment he worked tirelessly to fulfill throughout his life. The king was beloved as the people's king, and through the thousands of development projects that he initiated over his lifetime, he oversaw a period of profound social, economic, and development transformation across the country, significantly improving the livelihoods and well-being of the Thai people. The king was also a force for peace and unity within Thailand and the broader region, and was a strong supporter of the multilateral system. His achievements throughout his life led to numerous awards from the United Nations and beyond, including the United Nations Development Programme's first Human Development Lifetime Achievement Award in 2006. The king was also a committed environmentalist. He played a leading role in the promotion of soil science and conservation, and was a leader in sustainable land resource management. Under the king's leadership, Thailand raised global awareness of the importance of soil as a resource for poverty reduction, climate change adaptation, sustainable development, and security. In 2013, the General Assembly recognized these efforts by designating 5th of December, the same date as the King's birthday, as World Soil Day, as well as 2015 as the International Year of Soils. His Majesty was one of the most venerated global leaders of our time. His profound legacy to the people and nation of Thailand and the world at large will always be remembered. On behalf of the General Assembly, I extend our most sincere condolences to the government, the royal family, and the people of Thailand as we mourn His Majesty the King's passing. Our hearts and thoughts are with the people of Thailand at this time. I now request the General Assembly to rise and observe a minute of silence in memory of the late King. Thank you.